yes, the situation is that when we designed our policies for ASN, we had a limited number of ASNs because we had only 16 bits. This is no longer a problem since several years ago when we got the 32 bits ASN numbers. And at the beginning, in all the regions, the idea was who should get a public AS number? Only those organizations that need to connect with multiple providers, okay? This has evolved because today there are organizations that have a need to keep their own public AS number and have a single provider, but maybe they are doing peering with other providers, okay? Or maybe they have a specific routing needs, even having a single provider. Or maybe they have a single transit provider in that location or that country, and the provider, as part of the contract, forces them to have a public ASN. We cannot discuss here if that provider is correct or not, but they are asking for that. So if I am a customer of that provider and is my only possible provider, if we deny as a community to give a public AS to this organization, we are denying them connectivity, okay? So that's what I am trying to solve. Now, what are the changes? In my slides, you will see in your left side, the existing text, and the right side, the text changes I am proposing. So the first change in section 7.0 is just tidy up of the text, so not real changes there, just taking the opportunity to make the text shorter and more comprehensive, because it's obvious that we don't need to repeat in every section of the AFRINIC policy manual that this is for this region, blah, 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 because this is already stated at the beginning of our manual, okay? And then the part of definitions, I am keeping the existing text, just renumbering that section. And then I keep most of the text in section 7.4, which now becomes 7.2. And the major changes are in red color, so it's easy to identify that. So what is finally, in terms of my proposal, what I am saying we should require to any organization that needs an ASN number, we should ask them if they are interconnecting, including peering. So stating clearly that peering is also understood as part of interconnection, which more than one different AS, okay? Or also show to AFRINIC that they have a unique routing policy, or demonstrate that they have a technical need for that. And again, I want to repeat the example that maybe you are in a location or a country where you have a single upstream provider and they tell you, I don't give you service with a private ISN. You need to have a public one. So we cannot deny them to get that. We are stating also that if you don't have this situation today, but it's coming in the next 6 months, you will also get the number. We had a discussion in the list. I think this discussion was already 1 year ago about it should be 12 months, 6 months, 2 years, and most of the people were saying 6 months is more than enough. So we went for 6 months. What is the situation in other regions? In ARIN and LACNIC, they don't require at all multi-homing. You request an AS and you get it. Nothing to demonstrate. There is an equivalent proposal that reached consensus in the previous APRINIC meeting, so that was why it was not presented in the previous presentation, because it was the previous. And in RIPE, we have more or less same terminology like here in AFRINIC today, but it's not being enforced strictly. So if somebody really needs a public AS, and they have a technical need, they just get it. And again, technical need may be understood as my service provider requires it. That's a technical need, okay? I cannot sign the contract if I don't have my own AS. And that's it. Question?
Hello, my name is Chris from Nigeria.
Excuse me, sorry. Please, okay. Before we go to the mics, we would like to take staff assessment first. Okay.
Sorry.
Before we go to the mics. Sorry about that. Please,
my fault.
We want to take the staff assessment first.
Okay, staff assessment for this policy proposal. So the way we do the staff assessment is we look at the proposal, we try and understand what the proposal means to address. Then we looked at where it impacts AFRINIC. For example, in the registration services, if it's resources, resource policies, the processes and procedures there on our systems, on the WHOIS database, and in some cases also the legal assessment is sought. So we understand from this policy that there are 3 conditions under which our resource members can get an AS number. Either if they are multi-home, so they have 2 BGP peers, or if they show a unique routing policy, and in this case, demonstrate a technical need for a coordinated globally unique ASN, which means like if their provider requests them for a public ASN, then they can become eligible under this clause to get an AS number. Or if they are planning to be multi-home, so demonstrating the first 2 criteria, that they will meet the above 2 criteria in the near future, which in this case is within the next 6 months. So on the mailing list, there was also a request for statistics from staff. So this landed in my mailbox yesterday, so we put it up in the slides. In 2018, we have rejected roughly 50 out of 250 ASN requests. And in 2019, we have rejected about 42 out of 250 ASN requests that we received from either our new members or existing members. And the total rejected for 2019, no, so the total rejected from January 2018 to November 2019 is 96. And regarding the number of ASN that we issue, so in 2018 we issued 165 ASNs in that year, and this year we have already issued 180 AS numbers. Regarding should this policy reach consensus, we don't see a significant impact to AFRINIC, and the proposal can be implemented timely within the PDP timelines as written. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madhvi. So we'll now take the questions. Please, because we are really running out of time, I would give 1 minute to every speaker. Please, once you hear this sound, please know that your time is up. Thank you very much. We'll start from the front. Please state your name clearly and your affiliation.
My name is Chris. I work in National Assembly. I also have a question on this last one, but let me start with the previous one. I think mine on your presentation is more of commendation, your policy proposal, because when you are proposing something and showing to the public, it should be so explicit in such a way that somebody who is attending the summit for the first time should not be lost. So I think your standard of policy presentation should be adopted as a standard, in my own opinion. It was very fantastic because you have to show, you showed what was there before and your proposal. So side by side, and that is how it should be, standard-wise. So that if I'm coming for the first time, I shouldn't come here and I'm confused. You are telling me section this point, this point, this point, this point, this. It looks like mathematics, and it's not mathematics. It's something that we should look at and adopt. So thank you for that template. Then secondly, on AS number, where they are saying that someone must, demonstrate high level of need for it before you get it. My concern is, what if my provider is not asking me for AS, but I know in a short while I will need AS? So what happened to that? Do I need to come and apply immediately when I need it?
You can ask even 6 months in advance, so not a problem.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anthony, Goldspine, Nigeria. For this policy, I think it's needed. I look at policies from all sides, and from the business side, I think it encourages ease of doing business.
Closer to the mic.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll repeat myself. I said it encourages ease of doing business because I don't have to, as a business person, invest in an interconnection redundancy that I don't need. So that's very good. And then I had to worry about the consumption of ASN, but for 32-bit, I think we shouldn't worry so much about that. So I also commend that. And then for the statistics shared, I looked at the number of rejections, and it bothers me because that's the same thing. I am an advocate of ease of doing business because an environment where there is ease of doing business, it catalyzes growth. So when I can save costs and I have a policy that protects my business, it's good. So all these rejections, which I think this policy is going to help fix for most, it encourages that enterprise, that business to grow. So I think I support this policy. Thank you.
In the policy proposal, I don't have my laptop connected to show it. Sorry about that. I asked yesterday the staff that it will be better that we can use our own laptop so I can be flexible in what I am showing in the screen, but it's not possible. But in the policy, you can see some text that explain how many years it will take to exhaust the ASN numbers. So it's not really something that we must right now concern about.
All right, thank you, Jodi. This is Pascal from Federal University, Lafayette. My concern is just about the text. Maybe it is not too explicit when talking about the unique routing policy. For example, maybe an IX or a cloud service provider that needs a BYO addressing. I think the text should be really explicit because somebody might not know if he's actually qualified, okay? Then the next thing I want to ask is, will the fee structure be redesigned for this policy now, so that even though it expires in 20,000 years or whatever, it doesn't still allow acquiring of ASNs and stockpiling?
We changed a lot of emails on this, on the mailing list and with the staff before going to this version of the policy. And we make sure that if you are connecting to an internet exchange, they understand that as part of the bidding. So, and this is a regular practice. So I don't think there is any confusion on that. And regarding the cost, the fee structure, this is something that is out of the scope of the PDP, and I don't think we should go into that. I think this is up to the board to, according to the decisions of the community on every policy proposal, they should think if the fee structure should be modified.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So we'll move to the mic at the back.
Okay, hello, my name is Haruna from Federal University, Lafayette in Nigeria. I must say this is a wonderful policy you've come up with, but I have just a few concerns about the assignment of ASN numbers. I do believe that an organization should only request for a new ASN number if they have a new routing policy. That's if there is a necessity for a new routing policy to be in place, that's when you should request for ASN number. My argument is from the point of view of us trying to simplify the global routing table, right? Like that's where I'm coming from. So we shouldn't be, although it isn't a good statistics when we saw the number of rejections that were displayed earlier, but we should be concerned about how assigning ASN numbers to any organization that is requesting for it is affecting the global routing table. And then your section 7.2.2 says show a unique routing policy or demonstrate technical need for this. I think it should include the IP addresses that will be announced in that ASN. That if you're being assigned an ASN, you should show like the details, one of the requirements. So what I'm suggesting is a modification to that requirement, 7.2.2, to say these are the addresses that I'm going to announce. Well, but all in all, I think it's a good proposal you have. Okay,
I think what you are saying about the routing table, I don't think is correct, because the routing table, what it impacts is how many prefixes you announce, not how many ASNs. Okay, so I don't think that has a real direct impact, and there is no difference if you are, for example, an enterprise and you have an upstream provider, a single upstream provider, and he's announcing your prefixes that maybe you get directly from AFRINIC as an end user. There is no difference if he's announcing the prefixes with his ASN or with yours in terms of routing impact, okay?
Okay, that's why I made the suggestion of indicating the prefix that will be announced, I think.
Okay, I am going now to answer that.
Okay.
I don't think that's a good thing to do. Why? Because I can actually announce for you your prefixes, or you can announce yourself. Okay. And there are so many possible cases about that I don't think the staff need to enter into this detail, because it don't provide any benefit or any difference.
Okay.
I don't see how knowing what are you going to announce change the decision of the staff. You see my point?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. My name is Baduku Luka from Nigeria. I'm from the Federal Inland Revenue Service. And my own contribution or a comment comes from 7.2.2, where you clearly stated as one of the conditions that you have to show a unique routing policy or demonstrate a technical need for a coordinated globally unique ASN. Now, given the uniqueness of the African sub-region, I think that particular condition you gave is a good one, given the fact that most of our own people around here may fall into the categories of those needing having that technical need. That will make it a little bit easier for people to have ASNs, and then that will make business a lot easier for them. But coming down here, the 6 months or within the following 6 months, I think you can do a little bit more to increase the time.
We have this discussion in the mailing list. It's very difficult to agree 6 months, 7, 4, 12, and 6 months is a medium term that most of the people can agree.
Okay, so you believe 6 months is good enough?
More than enough.
Okay, thank you.
So I understand you support the policy, the proposal.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ok, c'est Monsieur Kakel Mboumba, je suis de la République démocratique du Congo.
I represent number federation. I support this initiative. This proposal, however, we are now doing due to difficulties in terms of connections and the needs of the population in my country. We are now going to 100 million inhabitants, and we have a big gap, and it takes us. I'd like you to facilitate the procedures in order to allow the operators to have rapidly and provide services with qualities, and to feel the necessary condition to have the internet connectivity facilitated in the communities regarding to the service that we provide. It is interesting that please facilitate, despite of obligating and go through these devices, sometimes are very heavy and very long. I'm suggesting that to be much more flexible in order to be faster in order to achieve our goals.
The gentleman made before. If you don't be careful, okay, easy distribution of ASN may also lead to disaggregation. If you go to a disaggregation, then the worry on the routing table show up. This just...
Alan, if I can respond point by point to make it easy.
Okay.
Providing ASNs don't mean that you also provide prefixes. In fact, an end user can come to AFRINIC, request prefixes, and you still have the same disaggregation. So I don't think that changed the point.
It changed the point. I'm not going. You said a user can come to AFRINIC. I'm not looking at specific aspect. I'm saying that if I have ASN, I need some to announce some numbers. It can lead to disaggregation, saying that what I got from my upstream, okay, I also put it and announce it. We are doing the disaggregation. This is what I mean. So I'm not. So I think, Jodi, I want to ask you a question. Do you know why RIPE NCC does not strictly follow the multi-homing requirement?
Because they observed that this situation happens. And we have talked several times about changing the text, but up to now we didn't change it. But in the case of AFRINIC, AFRINIC expressed publicly that they have some situations where they are rejecting requests. And I think the statistics that we show before, we have been shown before, prove it.
Yeah, because I asked this question because even if you look at it, if you look at the left side and RIPE NCC, everybody knows that we use a guideline from RFC 1930. And if you read carefully and you apply, which is what staff is supposed to apply, the 1930 clearly said, the matter here is the unique routing policy. So if you have a unique routing policy, it works. So it's already in the 1930. So I don't think we need, so all these things we are doing, like we are using a bazooka to trying to kill, etc., etc. So if we want to clarify, if we want to clarify what is the 1930, okay. So my question, another question for you is why that we didn't just say that you have to show a unique routing policy? Why are you now again pointing to multi-homing?
Because there may be situations where you don't have multi-homing, you don't have peering, but your upstream provider asks you for a public ASN. That's not unique routing policy. That's a technical need from your provider.
So, but how do I justify? So, how is this technical justification coming if it is not based on a routing policy?
Again, if you have a single provider in a country and that provider tells you, I am not going to announce the space that you got from AFRINIC unless you use a public ASN, you do that or you have not transit. Simple.
No, okay. So that means the provider is imposing on me to have my own routing policy.
Yes,
okay,
because the provider,
I qualify.
Okay, Alan, let's suppose we agree on that.
Yes.
That means that I am clarifying the text. Is that bad or is good? I am clarifying the text, right?
Well, if we are clarifying the text, we should make the thing clear. We said that multi-homing not required. Okay, but then we are still adding multi-homing here. Okay, but the multi-homing was just an example, a case where I need or I have a unique routing policy. Just a case. If you read the 90, it said if you have a unique routing policy, you qualify. And the multi-homing was the most likely case where you have a unique. So if you want to clarify, so I'm just being that we are just trying to do something and creating more confusion. Can we just stay to unique routing policy and we solve the problem here?
Alan, many people don't understand as unique routing policy as the case I am talking. So it's better to make it explicit.
And my last comment is going to go back to what I said in Kampala, and I've not seen a change. I don't think the issue of staff rejecting ASN has anything to do with, oh, now we have a large number of ASN. And because if you look at the text, your text do care or does care about how do we allocate and telling people to use private ASN if you don't need. So we do care for the limited number of ASN. So we can't say it's only limited. So for me, putting this in the problem statement is a big issue for me. Okay, we have a problem. Let's solve it, but let's not go that we have a unlimited space. We can give it out, etc. This has not convinced people that we show a unique routing policy.
Alan, I am keeping that part of the text, remembering the people that there are private ASNs if they don't need a public one. So I think that's resolving your concern on this.
Sorry, please. I just want, before we go to the next comment, I just want to seek clarification from the staff. The problem statement, is it part of the ASN? Because to my own understanding, it's not. It's just the problem statement.
Exactly. It's not part of the policy text.
Sorry, can we have that clarification, Madhvi?
Madhvi. The question from the chairs. The problem statement is not part of the policy text.
And that's what we're solving. No, but it is the one who defines what we are solving. If we don't agree on the problem statement, we cannot agree on the solution.
No, Alan, what I'm trying to clarify is if we have problem with the problem statement, does it really affect the policy?
Of course.
Because the problem statement doesn't go into the CPM.
No. Going to the CPM is something you adopted. What do you adopt? Policy is to solve a problem. So if we don't agree on the problem, what are we solving? So you will not have a policy to go to CPM. Forget about the CPM for now.
Alan,
what are we solving?
I could have an empty problem statement, just explain it here and have just policy text. This is perfectly valid.
Then we can agree. Then we can discuss because we can discuss. The problem, if you have a bogus problem statement, it makes some of us feel bad. Yeah. So because I cannot discuss a solution to a problem which is bogus.
Next person, please.
Just go.
Oh, okay. Well, no, they are conferring, so I want to wait for them to finish so they can call consensus favorably, you know.
Chairs. Please waiting in the mic. Which mic?
Sorry, microphone. Sorry.
Okay. 2 points. The first one is that this organization works on need base. Okay. So it is irrelevant the volume of resources we have. We have to follow things by need based. Okay. That's one. The second issue that I have is that when I go to the NRO comparative policy list, section 4.2, I understand clearly that multi-home is not required, at least for the following 3 organizations: AFRINIC, ARIN, and RIPE. It is stated there in the comparative policy from NRO. So that makes this proposal innocuous. okay? Because it already says in the NRO's publication, section 4.2, okay, that is not required. It tells you that you don't require the multi-homing, okay, but you have to follow the guidelines of the 1930, famous RFC 1930. So why are we doing all this? Okay.
I can easily answer. During the last 2 years, I have told the NRO that his document is broken. They have reference outdated. I can prove that with several emails to the NRO. There are many sections in the comparative policy of the NRO that are broken. So I don't trust that. I go to the policy of each region and compare it myself because the NRO document is broken. Well, then regarding the need basis, this is need basis. If you have a single possible upstream provider that asks you for connecting you, for giving you transit for an ASN, you have a need.
We understand that. All I'm saying is that this statement that multi-home is not required is not true, okay?
Oh, so you confirm that the NRO is broken?
I'm not confirming that. I'm saying that this title of the policy here is not correct. What I'm saying is that there's clear guideline in the 1930 that tells exactly what we are supposed to follow. If we were to follow that, those who really have a need will get their ASNs. So all this rigmarole, as far as I'm concerned, it does nothing. It doesn't change anything. The current condition, you can get any ASN if you can justify, based on the guidelines in the 1930.
When we asked to the staff if I am needing an ASN because my provider asked for it, they told us we cannot give it to you. This is what we are changing here.
Well, okay, I'm just telling you that all this thing did not change what we have today. But what we have today says we are following the 1930, in which you are able to obtain it if you can justify either through being multi-home or having a unique routing policy.
Okay.
So if you can demonstrate to the staff, please, I got to get my turn too, you know. If you can justify that your contractual relationship defines a unique routing policy, I'm sure staff will give you. Because it's a need. You are justifying.
They told us not. They told us not.
Let's not just create random policies because we want
anyway,
policies.
According to what you said, you basically say that we don't need the change, but it doesn't harm. If it doesn't harm, let's move ahead because it's clarifying.
Well, sorry. There is a queue, please. We'll take the mic in front.
Yes, I want just to make a quick to complete something. I think we are a bit lost with discussion. Not everyone need ASN number. First, this topic concerns only people who possess the equivalent of public IP address for IP version 4 or the equivalent for IPv6 public IP address, and they possess ASN number. For the deployment of internet in Africa or everywhere in the world, not everyone needs AS number. So this discussion only concerns people who want to possess a ISN number, and particularly it's ISP and big organization. But for home people, they don't need IS number. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification.
Push the button. Yeah. Push the button.
Daniel, I think part of what we try to do with policies is to make our life easy. I think that's what it should be. And if for any reason this particular, because I could see two things that it's a bit tricky here. I could see the issue of title, which is saying multi-homing not required. And we already know that multi-homing is not required. So I think maybe Jodi will go back and look at the title again and see if we can go back and look at the title again And also want to argue that you cannot solve a problem if you don't put down the problem on table. So I don't agree with the fact that because problem statement is not part of the final policy document, you must tell us where you're coming from. You must tell us your argument and reasons so that we will also flow. Because we are not in your head. So that's the reason, because you know what you're saying, but somebody needs to know where you're coming from so that he understands you better. But I think finally is to see whether this policy is going to make things better. And those statistics we see can change when the needs arises that I need an ASN and I can easily get it. I think that's what is important. So if we look at those policies, those issues, I can agree that this kind of policy will be useful.
The point about the title at the end is just giving precisely a title to a policy, but not necessarily need to be perfect. I mean, what we need to do with policy, and you say it, is make easy our life, make easy to the community and the staff to interpret the text. And that's what we should look at. So what we should look and discuss here is if what I am presenting here as policy text will make our life easy and will not break the overall rules of the community. Madvi, maybe?
Sorry, yeah, Madvi. Then please, the mics are now closed. Sorry, we'll take Madvi first.
Yes, there are questions from remote participants. Okay. So Benjamin Ishan from Ghana Research and Education Network says that the problem statement needs to be addressed to show what exactly we are solving. In addition, this problem can be fixed by try asking the upstream providers to obey strict best practices and not require organization to acquire them. From Grégoire Elumi, no affiliation, he says, I quote, I don't agree with Jodi about the problem statement. The problem statement should have a clear definition about the problem that we want to solve. And he also says that he opposes this policy. Another comment from Noah Minor, SECOM. And yes, problem statement affects the policy. And if problem statement is verge, then it's not valid. Let Jodi fix the problem statement. Thank you.
I repeat, I disagree that we can ask a commercial company to not ask for a public ASN. If they want to ask, it's their business, they will do. Regarding the problem statement, again, what we are discussing is to make sure that the policy text reach consensus, not the problem statement. We can clarify the problem statement at any time if we believe it's necessary, but if we reach consensus in the policy text, the rest is not important.
Thank you very much. Last comment.
Voilà, merci.
So I'm a Professor Fiaba from the DRC. I have a concern, a serious concern. I'm presenting to the members of the panel. I understand that regarding to English and the French, then the translation, there are some mistakes, but goes through the translation, go to another one. In a certain moment, the translator forget that he's speaking French and goes to speak Portuguese. It's sometimes those ones that speak French, sometimes they have serious doubt. The one that are presented essential, it is important to interact. This is an international moment and very important. It is necessary that translator should have at level of this moment, I'd like to ask that the translation should be more concise and precise. I have heard many things that are not correct. I call the attention to the translators. We are here multi-location in Portuguese. A question for Jodi. Is it important that the provider to internet, it is important to have various internet providers, because the final users or end users are necessary, yes. Otherwise, what is the impact of this providers policy if
many situations is that in a given location or a given country, and this happens in many regions, even in Spain. What happens is that in many situations, and this happens in Spain, in Africa, in Latin America, in Asia Pacific, in many locations, in many countries, in many regions, there is only one provider, and you still need connectivity. You may be a small company, or maybe a medium company, or maybe an ISP serving 5,000 customers. Those providers still are able to request things to their customers. And one of the things they might request is, I want you to use a public ASN. If we don't allow that explicitly, then we are not allowing those business to grow. So this is the thing. I agree with you that in an ideal world, we should have at least 2 upstream providers even in every small place of the world, but this is not the real thing. So I am trying to make sure that even if you don't have more than one provider, and even if you are not bidding in another location like an AXP or whatever, you can get an ASN, a public ASN.
Ok, à mon avis, c'est comme ça que vous devriez poser le problème dès le départ.
So I could understand when you say that we have a gap on the development and what was said previously in Uganda regarding to what happened in Uganda. That's why I advise you to tell in which context that we should develop in order to be with you on the issue of the providers. So the context should be well presented in order to understand clearly.
There are many examples. I am just using one example across this presentation, but there are others, okay? So I am just using one example, not the only one.
Last comment, please. Last comment.
Oui.
My name is Lombatumba. I am representing the SPADF from DRC. I believe that we are staying in a debate where we should not stay. The issue of ASN, which is just aimed for big companies, I do agree with my brother. It is important to clarify your role as you did, and as to make this debate should be shortened. ASN, mainly it has to do with big companies. Why do we have to have various ASN? It's just for an open which interest in the big companies. Supporting my brother's viewpoint, we should start in your last intervention, and we should stop there.
I understand that you agree with the proposal that it's not just for big companies, but also for small ones that prove the need. Right? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we're running seriously behind schedule. What we're going to do is we need to take a decision on this policy, but we're going to take that decision immediately we come back from lunch. So we're going to break for lunch now, and we'll be back by 2 o'clock to announce whatever the decision we're taking on this policy. Thank you. Please, everybody, we need to be back by 2 o'clock. Thank you.